everyone. Welcome to the River's Edge. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Chris Walton. He is a Ph.D. doctor of integrative medicine and a performance psychologist who specializes in personal change and peak performance. He is a author of 2 times best-selling books, The Gamma Mindset, Create World Champion Self-Belief in 5 minutes per day, and Peak Performance in 60 seconds, the 4 essentials to maximize your energy, resilience, and performance. His PhD research has brought empirical evidence into the field of psychology and integrative medicine that you can rapidly reprogram your subconscious mind for increased self-belief, confidence, and performance. I love this topic. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolute pleasure, Kelly. It's nice to see you. I'm looking forward to having a good conversation.
I am too. I'm excited. So a lot of people don't even know what the gamma mindset is. Can we start by that? What is the gamma mindset?
Sure, yeah. In short, the shortest explanation is the gamma mindset is a scientifically proven technique to rapidly reprogram your subconscious mind for increased self-belief, confidence, and performance. That's the short version. With a little bit more on top of that, the gamma mindset's a 4-step mindset technique that creates a peak state of consciousness, a peak brain state that allows for this rapid reprogramming so that you can get into that subconscious, update your subconscious mind, and as I say, increase your self-belief, confidence, and that self-belief and confidence then allows you to increase your performance.
It's interesting. Now, how did you think, just real quick, how did you get into it? Did you always like studying the mind or psychology? Is that how you got into it in the first time?
Interestingly enough, my first 10 years of a career, I was a strength and conditioning coach for professional athletes back in the 90s. I got to the back end of the 90s, mid to late 90s, and I was training these athletes. And what I could see is that really anybody in the top 10 could win these tournaments, but it kept being the same 2 or 3 people that kept winning the tournaments. These were professional squash players. And I had the pleasure of training the world number 1 and the world champion woman, the world number 1 and the world champion man, and 5 of the top 10 players. But it was the same people that kept winning. And I thought, what is the difference here that gets these people to keep winning? Because in reality, the fitness was a given. These were elite athletes, the fittest people I've ever seen. The skills were more or less the same, and the experience was more or less the same. But it was the same ones that kept winning. And when I really got into it and analysed it, it was the mindset. You know, it was who can really bring that skill, that knowledge, and that experience into the moment when the pressure's on. You know, anybody can do it when it's going easy, but when the pressure's on, who can do it? And it was a mindset, it was a focus, it was a self-belief, it was a confidence. So that's what got me interested into the mindset, working from athletes. But I was also training normal people, as you know, non-athletes, non-elite athletes as well, and hearing their stories week in, week out. And it just became quite clear to me that whether we're talking about elite world champion performance or our day-to-day health, happiness, and success in normal life, you know, the mindset and those deep down beliefs that we have subconsciously seem to be the driving factor. So that's how I got into mindset in the first place. And then once I got into it, it was like a duck to water. You know, I just absolutely loved it, studied everything, ended up doing a master's degree in psychology. And this was 2003 and 4, and then just kept studying from there, you know, so that was my introduction into and my route into the mindset area.
I love it. That's so interesting. And you said that when the pressure's on, that they're the ones who succeeded and others. So that's that stems from their belief in themselves that they can do it. And the others, when the pressure comes on, maybe they fold. Do you think?
That's exactly right. It was a combination of the underlying deep down belief and that absolute almost obsession with the need to win. You know, it was my pure focus in life is winning these tournaments and being the best that I can. And of course, that's a mindset. Now, all the others sort of had that level, but not quite to the same extent. And again, this was easy to see. You would see the mindset show up in the way that showed up in the body, in the physiology, in their ability to keep playing at that high, you know, that absolute, I don't want to say perfect, but that absolute elite level of making those precision shots consistently when the pressure's on, you know. And the funny thing is, you know, those precision shots are exactly the same shots that they would make on the practice court. But of course, now they're in a final or a semi-final, and there's a lot of money involved and there's a lot of prestige involved. So that's the pressure. But the actual skill involved is exactly the same thing. So when it came down to it, it was that underlying self-belief that they will win, they can win, they're good enough, and that underlying drive, focus, and discipline just to make it happen, which of course is all mindset stuff. So that was the difference. And I think you could say that probably about most sports and also in life. You know, life, as we know, it's not always easy, often not easy. And we have to go through our ups and downs. I think most human beings would agree with that.
Human, right?
And it's, you know, can you keep going? You know, can you keep your focus? Can you keep your energy? Can you keep your motivation in life? Can you keep your drive and your purpose to keep going where you want to go? Can you set your goals and achieve them and not fall short because your mindset doesn't let you, you know, or your lack of belief or your lack of confidence, your lack of focus, that sort of stuff. So it's interesting, you know, like I say, whether it be elite sport or, you know, normal folks' day-to-day life and wanting to have a good life, obviously that mindset and those deep down belief systems, what we believe about ourselves, really drive us.
Yes, totally. So you started out working with athletes, and you now work with people of all walks of life, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen?
Well, I still work with athletes, but you know, I've had a clinic now for over 22 years. I've had my practice, my clinic, and you know, over that time it's grown and you've got more well known and stuff. So I tend to get a lot of the people that I work with are entrepreneurs, business owners, people that want to, you know, optimize the mindset, optimize the physiology, optimize their energy, so that it gives them the very best chance of, you know, of achieving the goals and creating the type of life they want.
I love that. And it's we'll go back to the beginning. I have so many questions going on in my head.
It's okay.
We'll talk about the belief system, where they even start from. Where does that start, your beliefs?
Well, I think the best place to start and the best thing to sort of think about this is that, you know, we've probably all heard that, you know, obviously we know in our childhood we are programmed by the environment. We could say that all of us are a product of our environment, and specifically those first 5 to 7 years, even more specifically those first 3 years actually, but certainly those first 7 years, we are programmed by our environment. You know, the health and happiness, not only physically but mentally, of our parents or our care providers that bring us up in the world and look after us. You know, the social economic class that we bought into, the political system of the time, which is, you know, a hot topic right now, you know, but the political system of the time. And of course, you know, the overall area that you live in, you know, your location, and you know, your wealth, the wealth of your family, you know, it obviously has a big impact. So all of the early conditioning, the early programming from our environments really sets that underlying template about our belief systems, what we think are the rules of life needed to live and survive in the world. And then, you know, as we grow up from there, of course, you know, the programming doesn't stop. And particularly in this day and age with all the social media and, you know, mainstream media programming. Of course, we're seeing that massively now. But, you know, so we develop these underlying belief systems about what we can do, what we can't do, whether we're worthy, whether we're not worthy, whether we can achieve, whether we can't. And all these things are on a spectrum. And I think most of us pick up limiting beliefs. You know, our parents or care providers, they have the same conditioning in their generation, and our grandparents and so on, you know. So it sort of comes down the line with these ancestral patterns as well. To condition our mind, and then we grow up through our teenage years, and of course we're influenced a lot there into our early years, into an adult. And as I say, you know, the programming continues really with the media, but it's really those first 7 years of that programming where we really deeply embedded into our subconscious, you know, our belief systems deep down really control what happens, particularly in adult life. And that's where it all starts, you know, childhood and the environment that we're brought into.
And that's would you say the subconscious is a survival mechanism?
Yeah, I mean, inevitably that's step one, isn't it? You know, inevitably the body, our system, number one's priority is to survive. So that's the very first thing that we have to, well, that's the very first thing that's programmed into us, you know, how to survive, how to navigate the world in many, many forms. And that's deeply in our subconscious. You know, the number one subconscious program is survival, and the second subconscious program is procreation. And you know that they're genetically wired programs. That's not even so much learned from the environment. That's what a human being has to do. We have to survive, and we're here to procreate at some level, you know. So those are the underlying wired beliefs, and then we get all the rest of the stuff downloaded, as I say, from our parents, care providers, schools and educations in those early years, and the overall influences of the environment in our early years.
And it seems like it'd be so easy. I remember when I was being 18, I'm like, oh, my life's going to be so different when I go to college and I go to move out. Everything's going to be amazing. I'm like, no, I still have those insecurities and lack of confidence. And still today, I'm 51. Oh, my birthday's tomorrow, by the way. I'll be 52. But
my birthday next week, and I'll be 51.
Oh, nice. 1 year apart.
So we'd have been at school together.
I know, that would have been fun. But still today I have these limiting beliefs that I've done so many different energy psychology programs. So I'm really curious about yours to see. I think I was going to ask if it's a routine. Well, let's get into what you do to change your beliefs. How do you reprogram your subconscious?
Well, that became a that very question became a sort of passion / obsession for me, because working with these athletes, as I say, starting out, I wanted to know, okay, how do we do that? How do we get down to it? And back then, the things that were available were things like hypnosis, which has been around forever, and then NLP and stuff. That was the sort of thing in the 90s. And I did lots of that training, but I was never overly impressed with the results from either of those modalities. And so I sort of, ended up really getting into it, and ended up measuring brainwaves, looking at a range of techniques and different modalities and changing things around, and looking at the science of the body, of course, the mind-body connection that we know today, and then just measuring brainwaves, doing different methods and, putting different techniques and variations of techniques together to see if I could get a specific brainwave pattern that would allow for rapid subconscious reprogramming or subconscious reprogramming. So that's what initially set me off on. Well, that ended up being a PhD research project, which I did which was actually taken over a 14-year period. So that's how the gamma mindset was born. The gamma mindset technique was born. And then, that technique allows for rapid reprogramming. And that's something that I measured using various different techniques, brainwave measurement, something called electrophotonic imaging, which is a fancy Russian device which measures your energy and stress. Lots of kinesiology muscle testing, which is my favorite form of testing, so that you can see a change in the autonomic nervous system, the subconscious system, pre and post. And then just developed this process and tested, and then applied it with athletes, applied it with people. Okay, when we use this technique and when we reprogram, do you improve? Do you feel better? Do you get better results? And it was yes, all the way through. So that's how that's a short sort of quick overview of how I got into doing it.
The testing the brain waves, you put like all the probes on your head, and how does that?
Yeah. It's interesting how it started, though. That actually happened. I had an invite, a lady who was an educational psychologist, and she was a neurofeedback practitioner. She'd read my book, so I ended up writing. This was 2010 when my book first came out. And she invited me, said, would you do a belief change session with me, work on my subconscious beliefs in return for measuring your brainwaves? And I thought, that'll be interesting, and that's how it started. So that was like when I started to do the some specific measurements using her methods. And this is where I first saw what's called gamma brainwaves. This is where I first saw gamma brainwaves. Now, gamma brainwaves, let me just do a quick overview of brainwaves so we give it a bit of context.
Please.
So generally in a 24-hour day and night cycle, we'll have 4 brainwaves. So we'll have like the beta wave, which is me now and you now probably. Well, certainly me now, because I'm thinking a lot, I'm wide awake, I'm alert, I'm looking at you, I'm really thinking about what I'm saying. That's that sort of day-to-day focused action, get on with it sort of state of mind. And then when we slow down a little bit and relax down a little bit, probably more like you are compared to me now, you activate that alpha wave, and the alpha wave is just a slower brain wave. It's a slower frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you relax even more and you get into that sort of light daydreamy place and almost into a light sleep, you're into what's called the theta wave. And again, just a slower brain wave. Then at night, for adults in deep sleep, we'll have what's called delta waves. And when you create delta waves for adults in deep sleep, you're in la la land. You know, there's no awareness of yourself. That's when you're in deep sleep dreaming and you've gone. So those are the 4 brain waves that we have on a 24-hour day and night cycle. Now, gamma waves are a different ball game. Gamma waves, when you create gamma waves, more of your brain cells fire at the same time. And this is what's known really as optimal functioning of the brain. It's called neural synchrony, as again, more of your brain cells firing at the same time, which creates a state of flow, a state of oneness, a state of coherence. But gamma brainwaves allow for rapid processing of information. So when I first saw these gamma brainwaves, I'd done about 4 or 5 years of measuring techniques, but I think it was 2010 when I first saw gamma brainwaves, when I'd really cracked the technique, if you like. And then that was like, wow, what's this? You know, this is interesting stuff, because generally speaking, most people don't produce much gamma at all. And the research that's been done on gamma is with Buddhists with thousands of hours of meditation experience. So this was like a little like, wow, this is a little nice little finding here. This is a special finding because the technique that created creates high levels of gamma in 60 to 90 seconds. And there's scientific reasons behind the technique. You know, there's 4 steps behind the technique that are all science-based technique, science-based reasons, which create this gamma state. So that allows for rapid reprogramming, because you also get high theta, you get high alpha, and the beta wave is completely switched off, which means another key point of the gamma is when you produce gamma, your stress response is off, just switched off completely.
Right.
So it creates, you know, a really sweet spot in your brain, allows for this rapid processing of information, which allows for rapid reprogramming.
I love that. I love that. So not everyone how can you access the gamma? I know you have to have no stress. You have your brain. Is that the same as connecting to your higher self in meditation? Are you in gamma?
I don't think so. I think, yes, if you're from my understanding and from what I've read and researched, which is a lot now on gamma, most of the research, here's an example of that, right? And this is a good example following on to your question. So most of the research on gamma has been done at the University of Wisconsin by a guy called Dr. Richard Davidson. They've got a massive lab there, like huge lab with the most high-tech brain measuring devices. And they've had, like, as I say, Buddhists in there that have got over 10,000 hours of meditation experience. So they did a study where they measured these Buddhists. Now, as you can imagine, 10,000 hours of meditation is a lot of meditation. That's a lot of years. Yeah. They did a study where they were measuring the Buddhists when they were doing a specific meditation on compassion. So heart-based meditation on compassion. And they brainwaves show this huge burst of gamma rhythms, you know, showing flow, oneness, coherence. Now, they also had a group of students as the control group who were taught the meditation over a week, and then they had their brainwaves measured. But what they saw was no gamma. They just saw increased alpha, a little bit more increased theta, showing, yes, they're more relaxed, they're calmer, but there was no increase in gamma. So that was very interesting. So I think, you know, you can increase gamma through your meditations, but most people don't, because in standard meditation, you know, it seems that you need lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of hours of practice to have that sort of grooved in, if you like, for normal people. Most people in meditation will increase their alpha mostly, and then an increase of theta, again showing that relaxation, but not creating this gamma state, this oneness state, this peak function in the brain. So that's why it was very, very exciting for me, because when I was seeing this, I was like, wow, this is 60 to 90 seconds. Look at this. Wow, you know. And I sent this information to a brain surgeon, a guy that was on one of my workshops, actually wrote the foreword to my book, a guy called Professor Kazadi Kalangu, an African guy, fantastic man. He's like a brain surgeon for over 35 years. You know, he's done thousands of brain surgeries. And I sent to him and was asking him about gamma waves, because at the time I didn't know what gamma waves were. I had no idea. So, and he gave me the information and just said, this is amazing, keep working, keep doing it, and show it to the world, because it allows you to create that state very, very quickly, which, you don't have to be a long-term meditator, and you don't have to sit there for 20, 30, 40 minutes hoping you're getting this brain state. And it's a different mindset technique. It's not just sitting and relaxing into breath and that sort of stuff. It's a different technique.
Oh, interesting. I love that. And these elite athletes that you were working with, were they getting in the gamma mindset then? And that's what, were you able to test them and figure out that's what they were in when they were succeeding as
Not actually, no. I didn't measure athletes' brains. I used precursors to this technique with athletes. So they may have been getting into gamma, but I don't know unless I actually measured them. But the end effect of doing the technique was a change in performance. An underlying shift and change in self-belief, an underlying shift and change in confidence, which showed itself as better performance, more focus, more discipline, more intensity. I guess, again, especially when the pressure's on, you just seem to be able to, get more into that flow state, Kelly, which is something we all want to do, get into that state of flow and just let it flow without any resistance inside. And that seemed to be the key.
Those times are magnificent when they happen, when the things are just things you hate doing, but it ends up being effortless during the day, like cleaning and running errands, like basic stuff. But it's like you're just in it, the zone, right? Maybe that's a bad example, but it flies by and it's so easy. That would you consider that the zone when?
Yeah, exactly. Again, the words tend to be, the zone tends to be used in sport and flow tends to be used in psychology, but it's the same thing. There is a sense of like timelessness and ease and almost, expansion a little bit bigger than the sense of the physical self, and just getting on with it without the resistance, doing it well and enjoying it. And before you know it, you're like, wow, an hour's passed and it's gone like that. And again, like you say, that can be cleaning the house, that can be cleaning the car, that can be on a squash court, that can be lifting weights, that can be on the treadmill, that can be, whatever, but the flow state is a very useful state to be able to get into. I think today too much of that is mentioned in the extreme sports world, which is about 0.001% of us are into extreme sports.
Right.
But that's an example, that's a flow. But we want to be able to get flow in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
We want to be able to do our tasks
Basic
and what we've got to do every day in a state of flow. Then it's easier. We're much more efficient with our energy. Our skills, knowledge, and experience we have easy access to without any of that resistance or those emotional reactions that keep us into stress and stuff like that. So this is a big passion of mine, to be able to teach this technique to as many people as possible, because you just apply it every day. It takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day, and the cumulative effect of doing that every day, it seems to, in a way, just reset the system, and you sort of move to a higher level operating system. That's the way I view it, where no longer is that stress response in your baseline state more anxiety-based or fear-based. That seems to just drift away, and your baseline state is at a higher level. So happiness, joy, relaxation, inner peace, that just seems to be much more of your natural baseline. And then with that, you tend to do more things and go for things and set goals and make it happen without that inner resistance. But, you've got to do the reprogramming. It's not just that technique on its own. You still got to deal with your inner world and all that conditioning that we mentioned at the start.
Right. The fun stuff. We all have those days that they flow so effortlessly. And like all of 2019 or most of it, I felt like things were really easy. And then 2020 came and I'm not blaming it on external. It was just me. I don't know. Like you have the moments where you're like, oh, it's so easy. Like, why did I ever struggle before with any of this? And then it doesn't last and you go back into struggle. That's because haven't worked on the beliefs, right? That's why it comes back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of your subconscious programs.
Right.
Your subconscious programs running you that are not quite in alignment. And this is one of the big keys to be able to get into that flow state regularly and easily. Is what you need is your subconscious, automatic, autopilot, emotional reactions, underlying thought processes caused by those subconscious beliefs You need that to be in alignment with what you want to do consciously. Because if you've got a disconnect where subconsciously, the outdated programs that you've learned are not, in alignment with what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to create, what you want to achieve, what does that mean? Well, you've got a conscious, subconscious conflict. And on a physical level, that's a stress response. So you have a heightened, stress response, drip feeding stress chemistry into your body. And of course, when you're in that state, your brain switches off a little bit. You tend to procrastinate more. You tend to think why you can't do it rather than the solutions and the opportunities that you can, that you can actually go for. So that's a big part. And it's probably one of the biggest areas that stop people achieving the goals and stop people getting, healthy, happy, successful, whatever success means, whatever success obviously has got various different definitions for all of us. But for sure, those underlying subconscious programs, those are really what's driving us from what we learn deep down, as I say, in our younger years. And if they're outdated and still active, then they're probably taking you that way when you want to go that way.
Exactly. So if I was going to work with you or someone that, like I just told you about mine, 2019 versus 2020, can you walk me through what you would, overview of how you would work with me? Or is that okay to?
No, we can, let's go down this route. Let's go down this route. So over the last, what are we in now, 21, unbelievable, isn't it? 2021, geez.
Right.
Over the last 16, 17 years, 2004, so what's that? 17 years. I've been testing subconscious minds in my clinic because I use muscle testing, which is a direct way to access the subconscious brain, the autonomic nervous system, where the subconscious mind is. I've been testing. So over that period of time, I've come up with, it's not a definitive list, but it's what I call the 7 biggest subconscious blocks to success. And I'm going to go over those in a minute, but I want to go over the most important ones. And this is so important for all of us. So unfortunately, what we've learned from our conditioning from our younger years is that subconsciously is that change itself, most people see changing something about themselves, making a change to their mindset, a change to their attitude, a change to their underlying confidence and stuff. Most people think that's firstly going to take a long time. Change takes a long time. I've had these beliefs all my life. I've had these patterns all my life. I've been this way all my life. And so it's going to take a long time to change it. And you think, well, actually, logically, that sort of makes sense, but it's just totally inaccurate and false because that's actually not true. So, but we think, oh, change is going to take a long time. We also think change is going to be painful and uncomfortable. That change process, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a drain. It's going to, it's going to be awkward or take work, blah, blah, blah. And then we also think that change actually, again, this is subconscious, is taking something away from us. That by having to change, it's going to take something away from us rather than give us something. Right. So let's try this now. Okay, I'm going to give you 6 statements, right? I'm going to say 6 statements, and I want you to say a gut feel on each one. Score yourself 0 to 100% how much you believe each one of these statements. Right, so I'm going to say it.
Score myself?
Yeah, right now. I'm going to say it to you, and I want you to just give me your gut feel. And it's important that it's a gut feel, not an over-analytical process, because this is a subconscious test, And you can even put, if it helps, you don't need to, you can even put your hand on your guts just to let your brain know, focus on my gut. But, the gut feel's the gut feel, right? So your gut feel's the gut feel.
I do that whenever I ask
yourself
questions.
Pardon?
I do that sometimes when I ask myself questions. I put my hand on my gut.
Beautiful, yeah. So score yourself 0 to 100%. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just, we're just having a little test here just to see subconsciously, give us an idea of what's going on, okay? So this is about your ability to change, okay? So the first one is, it is safe for me to change.
80.
80?
Oh, is that too high?
Is that what you said? No, it is what it is. It doesn't. 80. Okay. So
you were surprised.
So firstly, this is the #1 most important subconscious belief that you can change. So let's just unpack this a little bit, then I'll give you the rest, right? So you've already said that, okay, it is safe for me to change. Now, logically and consciously, you would say, well, of course it's safe for me to change. What are you talking about, Walton? Why wouldn't it be safe for me to change? Yes, that's right, consciously and logically, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, what is your subconscious system? What's the reaction in your subconscious system? So this belief, it is safe for me to change, goes right back to when we're cavemen and cavewomen. A very primitive belief where any change on the horizon outside of our cave, any change in our environment back in those days could threaten our survival. It's a primitive pattern. Is it safe for me to change? And any change out there could threaten our survival.
Right.
So that automatic fight, flight reaction, that gut reaction to survive is based around change. A change out there, does it threaten me? Now, of course, now we don't live in those worlds, but we've got modern life and your personal history from when you were born, your conditioning, right the way through to where you are now, with all your associations, experiences, and memories from the past, wrapped up into this fight-flight pattern about change. So if we are not 100% on that, we have to realize, well, you've just said, okay, as an estimate, as a little test, 80% of you think, yeah, I believe that 80%. What does that mean? It means 20% of you is going that way.
Right.
Deep down, you don't believe it fully. What does that mean? Again, slight disconnect between conscious goals, desires, because let's face it, change is the only thing that's going to be a constant, and it's happening faster and faster.
Yep.
And if deep down you don't believe it's safe to change, then there's a part of you that will always pull back, never play full on, never quite see the opportunities to the full, because there's a part of you not want to go there because you deep down think it's not safe for me to change. And if you don't think it's safe for you to change, you're stuffed. And I have tested thousands of people on this belief and the ones that are coming, because it's the most important. So that would be the first thing. We would change that, because you've got to be 100% congruent at the subconscious level. Yes, of course, it's safe for me to change. And you want to have those programs running. Change creates opportunities for me. Change is good for me. Change brings positive things into my life. Change adds things to me and makes me better, allows me to do more, be more, and have more. That's the underlying fundamental things in your subconscious that have to be in place for you to get the actual change that you want. And I've seen this over the years. And this is why a lot of personal development programs and techniques don't quite give you the whammy that you're looking for. They don't quite get you where you want. And this is, again, through testing and testing and testing. I've had clients come to me with a long list of personal development courses, qualifications, books, coaches, done all the usual suspects courses, and you get them on the couch and we test them on that belief. It is safe for me to change. I believe this 100%. Block, stress response. So you're like, well, that's why it's not working. Because if you don't have your beliefs deep in your subconscious that change is good for you, then anything that you put in on top of that is on sandy foundations, and it doesn't quite load fully. So that's the first one. That's the most important belief to change, and it's the biggest limiting belief of them all. If you don't deep down believe it's safe for you to change, there's always going to be a part of you pulling back. And again, to bring it into real life, what does that mean? It means a little bit of stress response when you don't need a stress response. What does that mean? Stress chemistry, brain switches off, you can't think clearly, you don't go for it, you don't play full on, and you don't even know why, but deep down in your subconscious, that's one of the key reasons why. Yeah.
And
okay, next one.
There is a more accurate way to test it, though, than just asking me my gut, because maybe it's not 80%, maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, right? So you can test it more accurately yourself on me.
Yeah, with muscle testing, you get a direct response there and then. So I'm literally testing the muscle. So when you're saying that out loud, I'm doing a muscle test, and your body's either going to have no resistance to that, or it's going to go into a stress response, which you'd see with a what would be a stiff arm, a stress response arm. So that when you're saying it, you're getting an objective test. That's why I like this, and it's direct. An objective test. What's the reaction of your brain and your nervous system? But the gut feel is the gut feel. And I think so many of us today have forgotten how important and how primal the gut feel is. You know, if you don't feel it's 100%, it's not 100%. You know, that's just how it is.
I know it's not 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you the next one.
Okay.
So again, 0 to 100%. I deserve to change.
70. I had 60 or 70 in there.
Yeah. The deserve word is a word that always bites people. You know.
I know.
First primary one, it is safe. The safety thing is an interesting one, because of course, if you don't feel it's safe to do anything, you're not going to do it. If you could say, you know, it's safe for me to be a multimillionaire, you know, you know, it's safe for me to X, Y, and Z. It's safe for me to start a company, you know. So those are primary patterns that the organism, as I say, first priority is survival. And if you don't think something's going to be safe for you, it's going up against your primary survival pattern, which is always going to win. Deserve is a powerful word for human beings, isn't it? Deservedness. And I think we've all, well, not all, but so many people have got dents in deservedness and little blocks to deserving. Are we worthy? Are we good enough? Blah, blah, blah. Yep. Okay. Next one. Let me give you another one. Here we go. All parts of me are ready, willing, and able to change.
That felt like 100. I guess
Wonderful.
It's not 100. If it's, can it be 100 with the other ones being? Yeah, I feel like I'm there.
It doesn't have so much charge, does it, that one? It doesn't have so much emotional bite.
No.
Okay. It is natural for me to change.
100.
Super. Okay. One more. I love myself enough to change.
80.
Mm-hmm. And so you can just, in that simple test there, you can see, okay, so there's a little block to safety to change, which I would say at least 90% of the testing that I've done. It's interesting. When you're testing people with muscle testing, you can get them to say it's safe for me to change and they'll pass the test. But when you say it's safe for me to change, I believe this 100%, over 90% of people are blocked to that. So that's a normal thing. So it's not something to be concerned about. As I say, deservingness has got emotional charge.
Totally.
And then, of course, I love myself enough to, blah, blah. So fundamentally already we know there are some, you know, not necessarily massive issues, but there are some blocks subconsciously to you changing. So that's the very first thing you have to do, because without that, you can do all the work around, you know, success, around money, around relationships, around, you know, goals. But underneath that, if you're not fully locked and loaded subconsciously, that change is good for me, will create opportunity, will allow me to do more, be more, and have more, then you are on sandy foundations. So that's step one. And then once you've got those set, then you can have a field day. Then you can look at, okay, what's the next level? The next level is all about self-esteem and confidence. As we know, self-esteem and confidence is the bedrock of everything. So that would be the next level where we start looking at, okay, you know, specific belief statements that we can test and look at around self-esteem, around you being confident. You know, it's, for example, it's safe for me to be confident, you know, like, you know, yes or no, 100% sort of stuff. And then once you've got your subconscious set, so change is good for you and a positive thing, self-esteem and confidence is next. And then from there, you can do goals, you can do money, you can do relationships, you can do your, you know, whatever you want to do with your life. You can do the specifics to make sure, okay, I'm this year I want to earn this. Are you aligned subconsciously for it? You know, this year I want to do something different. I want to go traveling. I want to start a business. I want to start a family. Are you subconsciously aligned for that? The key being, it's always useful to remember, if you've got a conscious goal, a conscious desire, but your subconscious is not in alignment, firstly, it's a lot harder to do that. It's a lot harder to make it happen. And your brain is not fully on. You've got stress response on at some level, which doesn't help. That's stress chemistry, which is unhealthy. So, you know, you don't have the optimal brain sort of mind function to help you do that. And plus, on the energetic level, Kelly, you know, we're all broadcasting a signature from every cell of our body. You know, we're broadcasting what I call our personal energy signature, which is a combination of our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, and our spiritual connection. So we're broadcasting that all the time. And if we're broadcasting on one level consciously, you know, let's keep it simple, let's make it about money, you know, I want to be financially free, but subconsciously, you're like, that's not safe for me, I don't deserve that, I don't know how to do that, I'm not good enough, then the frequency that we're broadcasting from the body is incoherent.
Right.
The vibes about what we're broadcasting about ourselves, part of you wants that, but part is not having that. So that creates a weak field in the body. And if you are of the mindset that you're in the, excuse me, if you're of the mindset that the energy that we broadcast, the vibes that we broadcast have an impact of what shows up in your life, then you can realize, no wonder it's not happening. I'm not actually taking the right actions and doing it the right way, because not only is that not allowing me to function physically and my brain to work properly and me to actually get on with it in a state of flow, my vibes that I'm sending out to the greater field are incoherent and weak. So it's unlikely that you're going to create circumstances, people, places, and events that help you along your journey. So that's the energetics of it, and that's the the physiology of it, all in one, all to do with subconscious, conscious conflicts.
I love it. And I asked people what they would want to ask you. And the common problems were people said they want to ask about why do we procrastinate and how do we release trauma from the past, which you've been answering. But procrastination just fits right in line, right? Because there's a disconnect.
Yeah, my understanding and what I think about procrastination is people procrastinate for three reasons. One is, as we're discussing now, we've got a conflict. We've got a psychological, emotional conflict. Part of us wants that and part of us going that way. And so what does, again, stress response, your brain's not thinking clearly, you're in a slight bit more stress and anxiety than you need be, and so forth. It's very easy to put it off and do something easier that doesn't create the stress response. So we don't do it. That's number one. Yeah. Number two is people haven't got the energy. People just don't have the oomph, the energy in the system to do what they want to do. And number three is they don't know what to do. They don't have a strategy in place to get on with it. We'd all probably have more money. We'd all like to, improve our lives, but we need strategies. The mindset's important, but you've got to get on the pitch. You've got to play the game. So that's why I think the three reasons people procrastinate, but predominantly I would say it's the first one.
Yeah, that's true. So procrastinating when you don't have a plan. So the mindset, when you work on your mindset and work on the limiting beliefs, like you were saying, and you get on, then after that, you're saying, then you can create a strategy and you'll have more clarity, I would think, once you remove those limiting beliefs.
Well, that's the key, Kelly, exactly what you just said there. The fact is that, if you don't have a strategy and you can't think about how and why to, a plan to achieve what you want to achieve, well, why is that? Well, probably because your limiting beliefs are not allowing you to create the plan.
Right.
So you're stuffed all the way around, So that's the key, Obviously, when you've got your beliefs about change sorted and your self-esteem and confidence, and you're upgrading your subconscious mind, it's a hell of a lot easier to think of a strategy then, because your brain stays switched on. You allow your higher senses to allow you to think clearly, to see opportunities, to have ideas, and as importantly, and perhaps more importantly, to put them into practice and to stay on task and to keep going. I don't think anybody would say goal achievement is just like that. There's ups and downs, and it's life, isn't it? But the key is if your subconscious is working for you, firstly, it's a hell of a lot easier because there's no stress. You can stay in flow, which means your brain switched on, which means you can think better, which means you feel better, and which means you'll get on with it. So it's all interconnected.
Right. There's not so much stuff getting in the way of you have clarity, you're connected, and you're just doing it.
Yeah.
So to start with that, the programming, like if someone doesn't feel safe, like you said, that was the number one thing that people have, the limiting belief, they don't feel safe in change. Is that where you start in the 5 minutes a day practicing?
That's the first. You can do those six or seven core beliefs for each one of the sections. It's safe for me to, I deserve, all parts of me are ready, willing, and able to, it's natural for me to, I love myself enough to, that's 5, there's maybe 1 or 2 more. That's step 1, because without that, as I say, you're not getting to the absolute core subconscious programs that need to be changed.
Right.
So that's first, but you can do that quickly. That doesn't take long with my gamma mindset technique. That doesn't take long at all. That'll take you, well, depending on where you started from, that will take 5, 10 minutes, 10 minutes tops. That's like 1 or 2 5-minute sessions. You know,
Oh, just a couple days.
Yeah. That can be. Okay. That's what I'm saying. This is a rapid technique. You can integrate 1 or 2 of those beliefs in 1 to 2 minutes.
I know you have 90 seconds, like you could change it in 90 seconds. I didn't know how many
it's
days.
Actually quicker. Do you know the funny thing is, sorry to interrupt you, right? The funny thing is, it's interesting because everything is speeding up, and I have seen that in my clinic. I've been using this technique now for a long time.
Yeah.
Even the pre-version of the gamma technique, I've been using this technique. And sometimes, you know, people would be in the technique doing this reprogramming and sitting there for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, which is still quick, you know. But now, you know, 30 seconds, boom, it's done.
Wow.
It's done. Create gamma, download it, it's done. And I know this from muscle testing. This isn't my idea, or this isn't my belief. I know this. You can do a pre-test and somebody tests weak. Let's keep it simple again. It's safe for me to change. I test you and you're weak. No, you don't believe that 100%. You do the gamma technique and I test you 1 minute later, boom, it's done. The change in the autonomic nervous system has happened. The change in your subconscious system has happened. And then the question is, yeah, but does that change stick? Does it last? Yes, it does. I've tested. In fact, you know, this was all into my PhD research. You know, people 14 years ago that were using this technique were still getting the benefits of that change today. You know, so that change stays. And again, because with gamma you can get rapid information processing, it's quick because your brain's in a peak state. You know, and we have to remember, you know, we're amazing human beings. The brain's an amazing thing of which we're learning more and more about all day. And consciousness itself, of course, is where it's at, the mind-body connection. You can make rapid changes. But I've shown this. I wouldn't be so confident, I wouldn't be so confident in saying this if I wasn't using the muscle testing. And in my clinic, I use a testing system called autonomic response testing, which is testing the autonomic nervous system. And it's the most accurate, sensitive way of testing any stress reactions in the mind-body system. So, you know, you can see this test, pre-test, do the technique, post-test, change. Then you just do another one. Then you just do another one. Then you do another one. So you can make rapid changes into that subconscious that doesn't take long. Now, you don't need the muscle testing. You know, you don't need the muscle. You just want the bit in the middle. The muscle test is just a diagnostic, you know, which is nice working one-to-one. But you don't need that. You just want the technique in the middle. So my online program, well, I've got a few online programs, but my online program, which allows you to do this, each actual session, you've got about 35 seconds of reprogramming, because that's all you need. I don't need to keep you give you a long hypnotic script and take you 10, 15, 20 minutes of meditative hypnotic. You don't need that. You just don't need it. And that, for most people, it's actually counter-effective, because people drift, people's brainwaves come up and back down, and it's, you know, it's just not needed. It's not effective. This is a case of create a peak brain state, reprogram, job done, next. So it's, you know, it's very, very practical and efficient.
That's awesome. And people working with you, they don't have to. Do you do Zoom calls with them, or how do you work with people if someone wanted to get into the gamma mindset and change their life?
Yeah, three ways. Of course, I've got my clinic, which is reduced to people that can actually get to me physically, which is even less in this mad world right now. Of course, yeah, I do online sessions where we'll be sitting here right now, and you know, it's a structured session, so we actually know what we're working on, and you know, we're going through a specific process. Update, as I say, step 1, sorting out the beliefs about change. Step 2, self-esteem and confidence. Step 3, whatever's most important, money, goals, relationships, and so forth and so on. So that's, you know, that's very doable and very, very effective in a situation like this. Plus, it's very important, just to add on the bit, yes, changing those subconscious beliefs is very, very important. It's essential. But you also need to deal with the emotional aspects. You need to deal with the emotional charges. So doing the beliefs on its own is very important, but clearing any emotional stuff. So, you know, let's bring it onto a specific topic like money. You know, if it was about money, and you know, a lot of people, of course, have anxieties and stuff about money and finances and making the life work. Now, if you've got anxieties and frustrations and worries and fears and doubts about money and finance, then you want to clear the charge. You've got to deal with the emotional aspect, else you're only doing half the job. And we can do that very, very easily with another technique that I use that we, as a follow-along process. So the combination of the two, clearing the emotion. So at the very worst, you're neutral. And at the very best, you're like, wow, I'm happy, I'm excited. There's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no anxiety. When I think about money, when I think about achieving my goals, that's very, very, very important, because if you still have those emotional little charges, that's the stress response being fired up again. And you've got to get rid of that. So that's a part of, a big part of the process. So, you can do that. And then the almost not so much the best way, because the best way is working one-to-one, really, because I can be specific with you.
Yeah.
But my online program is specifically designed so people don't need to see me. You can learn the technique in video, you can learn the two techniques in video, and then everything is guided audio. And I've just structured everything that you need step by step. First is change, second self-esteem and confidence, and then you've got the other modules, which is money, your own goals, clearing procrastination, that sort of stuff. So that makes it easy, because you can just do it in your own time, in front of your own computer, do your reprogramming, and enjoy the results.
Oh, nice. So the online program you give is it like a one-time fee, and you just outline what they need to do, the whole program to get from A to B?
Yeah, that's right. It's a one-time fee. You have 24/7 access to that program for as long as you like. And it's very useful because there are lots of sessions in there to eliminate anxieties, eliminate fear, eliminate self-doubt in all different categories. So the whole program is structured so that you can eliminate any emotional stress, any fear, any anxiety, any self-doubt, all the things that hold us back. You can eliminate that, and you can reprogram any aspect of your subconscious in any area of your life. So it's very structured, and it's always there. So that makes it easy, it makes it effective. I think it's better in a way having a program like that, because you've always got it, and you can just do it each day, a little session each day, and you can take your time, and you can do as much as you want when you want. You can always go back and have a refresh. And life's life, Kelly. Once you've cleared anxiety about some other stuff, hey, stuff happens, and then you got some more anxiety. Life happens, and things happen outside of us that we've got no control of, doesn't it? Look where we are today. Everybody's anxieties, most people's anxieties through the roof just due to this situation that's going on. So it's useful to be able to have your tools and techniques. And we also have to remember, when you're doing the gamma mindset technique, you're creating a peak state of consciousness, which, if you've got a bit of spiritual persuasion about you, or a spiritual, mindset, it just allows for downloads. You've got in a way, you've got a more rapid, direct connection to source, to the field, to whatever word you want to use, to be able to get into a deep state quickly. And I don't mean deep state as in deep state. Dodgy word today.
No, don't use those words.
You can get into a profound state of consciousness, a peak state of consciousness, and you don't have to be a meditator. You don't have to practice meditation, because the technique, does what it does. So I think having that on a daily basis just allows for momentum. You just tune in, you create your gamma, you do a 5-minute session once or twice a day, and over weeks and months, you feel very, very different very quickly.
That's interesting. So people, how do you know if they're doing it and creating the gamma without your help? They can just do it by reading your instructions. Is this how you get in the gamma mindset?
Well, I mean, in reality, I don't, without actually measuring them, I don't know. But I've measured 32 people's brains from the age of 21 to 72, non-meditators. And every single person that does the technique, beta wave switch off, increase alpha, increase theta, and gamma.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. This is what it does. So the thing is, it's nice to say that, but what does that do for you? What's the benefit for you? How does it make you feel? And how does it make you feel is your baseline emotional state raises. So no longer do you have your baseline state of anxiousness and a bit of self-doubt and a bit of fear wrapped up with a bit of niceness and what have you, nice positive states. It's much more that your day-to-day state is, wow, actually, I don't have that anxiety. Or if I do, it's like 90% less, and then you can deal with that. It's like I'm starting from a better place. I'm thinking clearly. I feel more confident. I feel more flow, because that's what you're training your brain to do, and that becomes your underlying state of being. And that's what we all want. We want a better underlying state of being to live life from. And if you can do that with 5 minutes a day, then hey, happy days. And that's the whole idea of the program.
That's a sweet deal. Okay, so people can work with you online. Do you know the fee? Do you remember how much it is?
There's an application process because, you know, I'm a busy man, and you just go through a process. You can go onto my website. I actually show you on the website. You can see the testing. You can see the muscle testing that I do in my one-to-ones. But what you can, there's actually there's a free masterclass on the site where I show you a muscle test with a lady, and we're testing a business goal that she has, and it's, I think the goal is, all parts of me are ready, willing, and able to achieve my new business goals. And she's blocked to that. Then you see me guide her into the gamma mindset, and she integrates that in 60 to 90 seconds. Then you see me test again, and now the body's got it. The brain is now processing that belief in a different way. It's no longer firing up the stress centers, it's firing up the higher centers, allowing her to think clearly, see the opportunities. That's downloaded deeply into the subconscious. And so the energy frequency of that is a coherent frequency. And then, you know, put that into practice. You also then see the brainwaves. I then show you the brainwaves in real time. And that's in a masterclass that you can see for free. So you can see the test, you can see the technique, and you can see the brainwaves. So that's quite a nice thing to see. And again, that's a free masterclass. You can just sign up and watch that.
And your website?
GammaMindset.com. Nice and easy.
And people don't have to apply to download the packet to pay for the one package, though. I mean,
no, it's only from a one-to-one. Actually, the application is just working for me working with me one-to-one. That's that. All that's free stuff. There's lots of stuff on my site, but you can, if you go on the homepage, you'll see me talking there. Sign up. This is exactly what I've just told you. You can watch this masterclass, so you can see it. You know, you can see it. You can actually see it happen in real time with a muscle test pre and post with a real person with a real belief. Then see the brainwaves, so you can actually see how it works. And then, you know, if it resonates with you, you can take the program and away you go.
All right. So those of you who want to change your life and remove your limiting beliefs, go download on thegammamindset.com, go download your program or apply. Is there like a long waiting list to work with you one-on-one?
No, it's about 3 weeks. It's not long. It's about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I also want to say, if I may, I also want to say, and this is very important to me, I have just launched a men's mental health mastery course. And this is something I put together last year. It's very, very important because, you know, we're all
so screwed up.
Again, not all of us. There's so many people today having increased what we'd call mental health challenges, and particularly men of my age, you know, middle-aged men. Unfortunately, suicide's higher than ever before. Antidepressants are higher than ever before. And I've created a program which has 40 videos. It's a comprehensive mind-body integrated approach to mental health, and it's only $27. I'm more or less giving it away. I would give it away, except people wouldn't value it. So you can go on my website, and you can for men that are interested in that. It's a very solution-focused course using the latest cutting-edge science from integrative medicine of how to deal with mental health issues. And again, update the subconscious, clear out your blocks. There's a lot of information about the body there because that's such a huge influence on mental health, what we think of mental health. Often what we think of mental health is the effect end of all the physiological toxicity and blocks, as well as all the outdated subconscious programs, as well as the current life events of excess stress, uncertainty, insecurity, and so forth and so on. So that's important to me because I want to get that to as many men as possible because we need help.
Is this from you being a man? You know what the most men are feeling, and is that why you did it for men's? Is that because
I did it for two reasons. Firstly, somebody asked me that just yesterday, and I said I've never had a menstrual cycle. I've got no idea what those hormones feel like. I've got no idea what those hormones feel like, and as a man, I know what it's like to be a man. I know what mental health for a man is like, and that's the key reason. I'm exceptionally confident in dealing with men's mental health, but females' mental health obviously as important, and more or less exactly the same thing, but there's an aspect that I have got no idea about, and so I don't pretend to. So that's why. And also, if I'm to be totally honest with you, from a marketing point of view, it's cheaper to get traffic for men than it is to get for men and women. From an internet marketing point of view, when you put your courses out there and you have to advertise, if you're trying to do a catch-all program for everybody, unfortunately, Facebook charges you an absolute ton per click. So there's a practical side of things, but more importantly than that is, as I say, I can resonate more with men's mental health and women's mental health for obvious reasons.
Yeah, well, on Facebook, and any of your followers can advertise it too, like say, hey, go check out Chris Walton's Men's Health, and they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. You find me on Gamma Mindset, Chris Walton. I'm on there.
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm on there. I'm not big on social media. I'm not a big social media poster. I just like post once a week or something like that. But you can find me on the usual social media. I think my Instagram is Dr. Chris Walton, Ph.D. I don't do much on Instagram. My main thing is Facebook, but that's mainly just ads for my programs, But you'll find me. I'm there. There's also there's 100 blog posts on my website. There's lots of the science of the updated understanding of the mind-body connection, how thoughts and feelings travel around the body. There's some nice information about that, which is important. So lots of free stuff there that you can get stuck into.
One thing I was going to ask you is about diet. Now, because the mindset, I guess if people eat poorly, maybe it's because they have the mindset that they're not good enough or whatever it is. Or would you, like, what if you start changing your diet first and then it's easier to work on the mindset, or what kind of role?
Yeah, the nutrition is such a massive aspect to how we feel and how the brain works. That's all covered in the Gamma Mindset program and the Men's Mental Health program. My first degree was in as a sports science degree, dietetics and metabolism. So I've been into nutrition since I was 14 years old.
Oh, I love that.
And it's a massive, massive part. And I think the first thing with nutrition and diet is an educational process, because most people have got no idea what's a good food, a bad food, or a healthy food, and apart from the obvious junk food stuff. But there's a lot to be said about nutrition. Balancing blood sugar is absolutely essential. If you don't do that, you're always in anxiety, and you can think that's your anxiety is caused by your day-to-day life and worries, but actually it's just caused by blood sugar issues. Right. Food intolerance is a massive one. Food intolerance is a massive hidden nightmare for mental health. If you're putting in foods that you've got an intolerance to, what that tends to do then is create inflammatory responses. And if you get inflammation in the body, and particularly if you get inflammation in the brain, you're not going to feel right no matter what you think or do. You're just creating inflammation, and chronic inflammation is a serious issue and leads to a serious load of diseases. So nutrition is absolutely so important. Part of my one-to-one work is the body, the nutrition, the supplementation, the clearing out the toxicity, testing the body as a whole another way of testing the physiology to see what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. Gluten can have a lot of issues for people and create numb brains, cloudy heads, so can dairy, and a whole range of stuff. So, and obviously nutrition is a massive topic, but very, very important to get that right, or as right as you can do, But that being said, it all stems, if you think about it, where people get tricked up is even when they've got the education, they don't change the requirements in their nutrition, because deep down again, it's not safe for me to change.
Exactly.
So it knocks onto every part of your life. I've seen it time and time again. People can think, oh, I want to lose weight, but you won't do what's required. Why? Because you don't believe it's safe to change, and you won't make that connection logically. It's a deep subconscious program,
Oh, I'm well aware of my beliefs and my limitations. This has been very exciting. Thank you so much for coming on for the interview.
Absolute pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it. It's just gone. I've literally been in a flow state I've just looked at the clock. I'm like, wow. So that's an example for me of flow.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that's an example for me of flow. I just absolutely loved it. I was really engaged with you. Really enjoyed the questions, and I've had a really nice time. I hope it's been useful to you and your viewers.
It has. I think it would be fun to work with you one-on-one for myself.
Sure.
It'd be awesome. Great. Yeah. So I'll be in touch with you.
All right. Lovely.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.